It's Izzy for Alt AZ. I'm talking with Sam Fender. Thank you for joining me and hanging out with me for a little bit. I appreciate it.
Thank you. No, thanks very much.
Absolutely. So I find you kind of fascinating in the way that you think about humans in general and the way that you think about yourself. So I read that you always used to write about other people because you could be blatantly honest about them, but you never really wanted to write songs about yourself as much because, you kind of thought people would think you're miserable. But newsflash, everybody's miserable in their own way. So if anything, it makes you more relatable. So when COVID hit, you actually had to look internally in order to get stuff because you weren't able to hang out with people. So how challenging was it for you to write this new album that's coming out? Because you did have to write it about yourself.
Yeah, I think it was just, it was more, the challenge just came in having the initial confidence to do it. I think it wasn't like, once I got going, it was actually in some way easier because you kind of, you're writing about your own experience. So it's literally just, you're just recalling things.
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually that, instead of having to, come up with an opinion about somebody or something or whatever, like I just sat there and started writing my childhood on a bit of paper, you know what I mean? So it wasn't tough in that sense. It was just having the balls to do it. And I was doing therapy at the time. And that's kind of what I was talking about, stuff from growing up every week anyway. So it was always fresh in my mind all the time.
Yeah.
So I think, that's what was it's in a way, it's kind of, as I keep saying, if I feel like I opened Pandora's box with the therapy, but also in a way opened up this sort of this wealth of stuff to write about,
Absolutely.
Which was great, and since has been the catalyst for all of the stuff that I'm writing now. Like there's still so many things that I haven't really covered, so
yeah. That's incredible. But I do want to commend you for going to therapy because I know a lot of guys in general are not really for it. So I think it's incredible that you were able to take that step and go into therapy to work on yourself.
I don't particularly like doing it. But, and it's like, it's one of those things like, I have to really force myself to go.
Okay.
Because a lot of the time I'm just like, I don't want to do this, but
yeah.
Just because you go do it and then you're like, you sat there for the rest of the day kind of thinking about stuff that you don't want to think about, so it's a lot easier to just kind of deflect, isn't it? But that's why it's not easy, it wouldn't be worth it if it was easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So what was one of the hardest topics for you to open up about in your writing?
I think just talking about, I think maybe talking about, I briefly touch on, I've lost a few friends to suicide and stuff like that. And that's always kind of a tough one to open up about as well, because it's hard to do it. You've got to do it delicately and in a way that doesn't look like you're trying to capitalize on the tragedy of, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's trying to do it in a way that's respectful, in a way that makes sense, and in a way that is, not that's hopeful and has some sort of message which is has a purpose and is enjoyable. And
which is kind of odd to think about, talking about suicide in an enjoyable way. But the interesting thing is,
I meant like making the music
palatable,
palatable, like not exactly
right. So
you know what I mean?
Before the pandemic, I feel like maybe that topic wouldn't have been as relatable, but especially during the pandemic, I think so many people were depressed and going through loneliness and these feelings of it's never going to end. So I think that now
we bizarrely lost a friend like literally like a week before the pandemic started. So it was a real shock for my hometown. There's only 38,000 people in my hometown, so everybody knows everybody. Like, for that to happen, and then for COVID to happen was so intense. I mean, for his parents and for all of that, like to be sat in the house stuck just after that was like really intense. So I think it was kind of, and it was the last sort of thing that happened in life before life stopped. So, you know, it was, you know, it was kind of the only thing that at the time that was on my mind. Sorry, anyway, yeah, we'll move on from that.
No, you're okay. I appreciate you for your honesty, and I'm really sorry for your loss. That stuff's never hard. I've lost friends to suicide as well, so I know what you're going through. Do you feel like, go ahead.
I just said, as a lot of people have, you know, that's kind of why we're trying to, you know, I think that everybody's speaking about it a lot more now, because, you know, it's clearly not going away.
Yeah. Yeah. There needs to be more awareness brought to it and more resources for people who are feeling that way. So, you know, I think the more people talk about it, the more it's going to feel like less of a taboo subject, you know, so I commend you for that. Do you feel like opening up in your songs has really helped you open up in your everyday normal life too now? I mean, you're going to therapy, you're writing about it in your songs,
I think it's easier to do it in a song than it is to do it in person.
Really?
Yeah, no, like it's so bizarre. Like I put it into music and I go out and sing it to a load of people. But then when I go and do interviews and people ask us about what the songs are about, I feel like it's, you know, it's strange. It's
interesting.
It's like talking to a stranger. Like, you know, if you're talking to a stranger on a train ride or something, it's sometimes easier to kind of open up to that stranger, because you know you're never going to see them again, and you know it's not like out there. But when you're doing like a radio thing and you're like chatting to someone and you know it's going to go everywhere, you know, there is that kind of it's that kind of, it can be a bit, you know, it sometimes feel a bit intense, you know. But
yeah, I get that.
Yeah, so sorry.
No, you're fine. So you clearly have a very thick accent. Do you ever listen to your songs and think, where the hell did my accent go?
No, it's in there.
Is it?
Yeah, it's in there. There's certain words and things like that people get wrong all the time. Like, even
like
lyrics.
What? Is there a most common lyric people get wrong?
Yeah, like spent with note to offer. people go like note, spent with note to offer. And it's like, no, it's spent with note. It's like spent with note to offer, because we say note instead of nothing.
Yes.
Like, well, a lot of the Geordie vernacular, there's a lot of borrowed words from the Vikings. You know, there's bits of Norwegian in there and everything, because where we're from is where the Vikings landed. You know, so we've got like a lot of Viking in. It's just like Viking words. We say like I say like I'm gan yem, and that means I'm going home.
Wow, interesting.
Yem's home in Nordic, in Norwegian.
Okay. Wow, so it's like a mishmash of all different types of languages just thrown. It's like your slang.
Well, the British Isles has been invaded so many freaking times that, like, you know, like, you know, we've been
only expect it.
You know, we've had, you know, like the royal family, man. They're like, you know, the German, Dutch, French. They're just a mishmash of everything.
You know, hey, Izzy, I'm sorry to interrupt. If we can wrap it up after the next question, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. All right. So I saw that you're actually going to be going on tour and doing some shows with Florence and the Machine, right?
Yeah.
So is there another band or artist that you would really like to tour with in your career?
I mean, there's loads. Like
I know, but you don't have anyone in your mind where you're like, just this band or artist in particular. If I can tour with them once in my life.
The one that immediately comes to mind is the one that everybody expects us to say. So I'm just like, you know what I mean? I just
and who
feel
is
like
it?
It's Springsteen, obviously. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you're Britain's Bruce Springsteen. I saw somebody write that about you. So
yeah, I'm not too keen on that tag.
No.
I'm not too keen on it. I just
is it too much pressure?
Yeah, I think I'd just rather be, you know, because it's like, hang on, I don't just rip him off. I've ripped off loads of other people.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? It's like, that's a part you take bits from everything as a musician. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
I've got a saxophone, and and I'm from a working class town, and I speak about working class life, so it's quite easy to like get stuck in. I can see where the crossover comes. Yeah. There's glockenspiels and stuff on the record, but yeah.
All right, well, Sam Fender, not Britain's Bruce Springsteen. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you very much for having us. Take care.
See ya.